too. How much fun is that, right?
How much fun is that?
So much fun. All right. Well, welcome everyone. I appreciate everyone attending. I am Chad Skluzacek with the CMS Home Group here in Keller-Williams. For those of you watching on Zoom, hopefully I will not distract you as I'm walking back and forth, and understand I'll be standing to the right here a little bit of myself. You are left. Welcome everyone to the class today. We're going to be talking about how to measure a listing, and I love interactive class. So what we'd like to do for those, Jessica, are you assisting for those that are jumping on Zoom? Yep. Or people? Thank you. Jessica's going to be here. So for those of you that have questions, raise your hand on Zoom, however it is that we communicate with each other these days, to let us know what questions you have. And so I'm absolutely happy to help with that. So just a quick note, I'm going to send over a sign-in sheet. So Mark, start us off with that, please. Just put your name. That's it. All right. And we're going to go through that. And then, so Maria, Marquez, Jessica, anybody else that we're waiting on to your knowledge?
I don't think so.
If they are, they can filter in and we'll sign in.
It's recorded for many PC agents.
Okay, great. Well, to the PC class, this is great for those of you that have been in my class before. Awesome. If you have not, I love interactive classes. So raise your hand whether you're in person or on Zoom. We want to hear you. So one thing I'm going to ask everyone to do is step up. Those of you on Zoom, please raise your hand with Jessica and let me know what you would like to learn from this class, because I like to keep it interactive. So Marquez, if you don't mind, stand up, tell me who you are, how long you've been in real estate, and one thing you want to get out of today's class.
Marquez. I've been in real estate for almost a year now.
Great.
A year coming up in November. And one thing I want to get out of this class is the name of it, man, how to measure a listing. I haven't been on a listing appointment yet.
Awesome.
And I just need to learn how to measure it because I don't know what I'm going to like,
Okay.
how to do it or what to do.
You don't know what you don't know, right?
Right. So,
All right, cool. We're gonna do that. Maria, who are you? What do you want? How long have you been in real estate, and what would you like to learn today?
Sorry, I'm Maria Farias.
Awesome.
I've been doing real estate for 5 years.
5 years, fantastic.
And I have no idea how to measure.
All right, okay, great. Jessica, you want to stand up? Tell me who you are.
I'm Jessica Neary.
Hi, Jessica.
Hi, Chad. And I'm not so great at measuring, like when nothing's been done.
Okay.
And then it's like, where do I start? And then also the whole garage thing. And I don't get some of that stuff that they're asking for in the MLS.
Yep.
So that.
Okay.
And then I'm going to call on the people here. So Ashley,
Thank
the
you.
first one.
Ashley. All right. So Ashley, who are you, and what would you like to learn today? Or is that what your question was, Jessica?
Yeah, she's right there.
Awesome.
Hi, I'm Ashley. I'm a realtor with the Jana Riley Home Team in Marshall, Minnesota.
Ashley.
I've been in the business for a little over 2 years, and I'm just starting to do listings. So honestly, anything to help learn how to measure is great.
Perfect. All right, we can help with that. Anybody else?
Okay, Sarah's next.
Hi, Sarah.
Hello. I'm Sarah Rostance. I have been with Keller-Williams since March. And I want to know everything, in fact, because I'm going to a listing today and I need to measure her and double check all of her stuff. So
Crash course.
give it to me. Yes.
You better pay attention. We're going to teach you. All right.
I got my notebook and everything.
Great. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you.
Okay, Angelina.
Angelina.
I'm Angelina Kingstrom, and I have been licensed for about 2 months.
Awesome. Congratulations.
I'm ready to learn anything about measuring.
Awesome. Perfect. Did I hear a little one behind you too?
Yes, she does daycare.
All right. Well, we'll teach the little ones too.
Okay, Jen Ping, can you get on? And if you can't, that's okay. You can just respond in the chat.
I think I can. Can you hear me?
Yep.
I have been an agent since, well, October. I just joined Keller on Friday, and I'm just here to basically learn anything that I can.
All right. All right. We can help with that.
Okay.
Welcome, Jen.
Next is Megan.
Megan.
Hi, are we just saying how long we've had our license? Sorry, I jumped on.
Yes. How long you've been in real estate, who you are, how long you've been in real estate, and one thing you would like to learn out of today's class.
Okay, so I'm Megan Oren. I got my license the end of August last year.
Great.
Initially I was with the Uptown PW and then I switched to Burnsville and super happy with my decision on that.
Awesome.
Yeah, and one thing I'd like to learn, so actually I have a listing that's hopefully going live on Friday. And with the new requirements, I don't know how to do the main floor square feet total.
Perfect.
Hopefully you can cover that. So that was one thing I was thinking last night.
All right, you're not alone. Great. Anybody else, Jessica? that you can think of?
I think that's everybody. Let me
Jennifer,
see.
Megan, Angelina, perfect.
Yep.
All right, well, great, everyone. So thank you so much. Again, interactive class, raise your hand and want to hear from everyone as we go. So we do have a PowerPoint. We'll zoom through that. We're going to jump on MLS. We're going to pull some MLS data, take a look at a listing and dive through that. Jessica talked about, hey, brand new home that's never been on MLS. How do I do that? Whether it's a 2020 that's a to be built, you know, you're a listing agent for a builder, or maybe it's a 2005 that just never has been sold before on MLS. Right, so we're going to learn how to do that, how to gather data from different resources. And I forget who it was, help me out. I think Ashley or Sarah is going on a listing presentation in 2 hours, so she's taking good notes to make sure. Sarah's laughing, I think it's Sarah. All right, so here we go. Thank you. So here we go. I'm going to flash forward through a couple of things. So who am I? What is this class all about? Again, we talked a little bit about that. One reason I like to teach this class is I do have a background in the building world. So I'm just going to leave it like this for now. You guys are okay with that, right? Yeah. Thank you. One reason I teach this class is I have a background in the building world. So since who knows, I don't know, 1982 is the first day I joined my dad's business in the building world. So I showed up and picked up pop cans and recycled them for a few bucks to buy transformers and other fun things. And then in 1994, I became on the payroll for the Lens Construction builder / general contractor / subcontractor, right? So in the building world, we look at homes differently than realtors. Builders look at exterior dimensions and blueprints are the law. So you need a blueprint or they're not even gonna look at your plan usually, right? Because that's how a builder thinks. An engineer, a appraiser, they look at things similarly. Thank you, Jessica. Whereas a real estate agent goes, well, I don't know, I'm looking at how do I fit a couch in a room, right? Do I really care what the square footage is? No, I want to know that my couch, my hutch fit, whatever. Well, that's how we have to make sure we understand whose eyes are we looking through. Is it our buyer? Is it our seller? Is it, well, I'm building a home? And how does the person I'm communicating with look at it, right? I always like to say it's not about us as realtors, it's about the other party we're working with. It's our job to chameleon ourselves, make sure we help the other party that we're communicating with understand what's important to them. So if you're working with engineers and architects, you better think one way. If you're talking to somebody that's an interior designer, probably a different communication method, right? We're talking a lot about MLS today. MLS is kind of a blend. You're going to hear different opinions from different people. A portion of today's meeting or presentation actually is a 12-minute video, which we may or may not get a chance to go through. I might just hit highlights depending upon the line of questions. I want to make sure we get everyone's questions answered today. So again, if we have time, we'll roll through it. If not, we'll skip that. I left the building world, went into aviation, came back to the building world in 2003. I was an educator at the University of North Dakota, and then my business started in 2014 for real estate. So I've been in real estate for a little over 5.5, 6 years. Oh my gosh, where did time fly? Page down, here we go. Okay, various resources. What do we use when we want to measure a home, right? We call a seller, and what does a seller say when you call them about, well, about how many square feet is your house? Are they going to tell you, well, it's 2503 overall, 1422 above ground, and it's 809 below grade? No, they're not going to say that, right? What are they going to say? I don't know. And so we have to do some due diligence and research to help that seller or buyer identify the size of the structure to help understand its value, right? So we have to do some due diligence. What's the easiest way to find out information about a house if you're about to go on a listing presentation? What's that? Say again?
County site.
County site, fantastic. Anybody else?
The MLS.
The MLS, anybody else? Yes, yes, and yes. Previous MLS listings, county sites, right? Blueprints from a seller, you name it. So let's take a look at a couple. By the way, Jessica, when I'm talking, should I be here? Does it matter?
You're good.
I'm okay.
I actually.
We can hear you better when you're closer to the microphone.
The mic.
Oh,
But
thank
you-
you. So
but
this
you-
is better here?
Sarah, you can't see him
versus
though,
over
right?
here?
No, I can't see him.
Okay, that's okay. You don't want to.
Yep, nope, now they can.
Now they can? Okay.
Too bad, Chad.
Now, I see. I think I see. Okay, so I'll stand to the side. I'll stand, this is the mic. I'll stand closer to the mic. Holler at me if you guys cannot hear. Fair enough?
And we have 2 more on Zoom.
All
Corey
right.
Tudewalt and Sue Farrington.
Hi, Corey. Hi, Sue. Thanks for showing up late, Corey. I'm teasing, buddy.
He says yellow.
All right, so we want to take a look and we want to talk, we talked about looking through the perspective of a draftsman, an architect who starts the blueprints with the builder, builds the structure, and then 10 years later, a realtor shows up and wants to list it for that seller. And they all look at it differently. So we already talked about the surveys. Does anybody know what a survey is? Jessica knows what a survey is, good. It takes a piece of structure and it places on a plot of land, right? And so that survey says, well, here's the plot of land and here's the structure and here's the offsets for those of you that know what offsets are. We're not going to worry about that too much today. We may show you a copy. Yet it is important to understand this should you choose to work with new construction buyers, right? I'll tell you, new construction buyers, in my experience, what percentage work with agents and what percentage choose to just work with the builder? Anybody have any idea? Marquez, Jessica, Maria.
90% of the building.
90% with the builder, okay?
50-50.
50-50. Somewhere between 90-10 and 50-50 is my assumption. I bet it's pretty close to 50-50, depending on where you're at.
In between those.
Let's just throw a dart at a wall and see if it sticks. So what I find for those buyers that see value in a buyer's agent assisting them is, you know what a survey is, you know what a blueprint is, you know what offsets are, you've talked to builders, you have an understanding. So if you like to get into the building world like I do, if that's a niche for you, consider learning more about this and knowing this from a broad perspective. That'll provide value to you and really help you when helping those build a home. Because guess what we have to do in markets like this when we're short on inventory? What do we have to do? Everything. We got to make inventory, right? We got to build. The city of Lakeville, I think I heard, is going to have over 800 builds this year. That's 800 structures built. Do you have any idea how much business that is for a buyer's agent repping a buyer? A lot of business. So tap into that if that's something you're interested in and learn more about this to get yourself there. So Marquez said counties. I heard Jessica say MLS. If you have a previous MLS listing, are you golden? Can you just print out that listing and previous listing and go on the appointment and go, I got this figured out?
No.
Maria says no. Why not, Maria?
Because everybody makes mistakes.
Ah, we're human. They didn't attend this class. They had no idea what it was when they listed it, right? So yeah, you're right. I've made mistakes myself where I've taken data, I went on the appointment, and boy, I was missing a bedroom and a 300 square feet for a condo. That's huge. Guess what happened when I listed a 1,700 square foot condo, not doing my due diligence, and then the appraiser came in 3 weeks later after we went under contract. The appraiser came in and said, boy, you've got a condo, it's 1,400, you listed and sold for 17. What do you think happened?
It shrank.
It shrank. and why is that a bad thing? Yeah, if it's not 17, it's 14, what do they value it at? A 1,400 square foot layout. So my seller's going, wait a minute, you made 10 grand more, and now, thank goodness it was 3,500 bucks, and I still lost $3,500 for my seller. Now they just sent me a referral today, so I think they're okay with me. However, that's a big mistake. You got to re-earn that business over and over again. So make sure you're doing your due diligence. Okay, so that's where the information comes from. For those, I haven't researched this in a while, so full disclosure, when you're notating Room Scan Pro Magic Plan, is there a question?
No.
When you're downloading applications, there are more applications and better applications that you can go on whatever your iPhone device or your Android and pick up a couple of free scanning tools that will actually allow you while you're in a home with a click of a button to identify the dimension of a house, whether it's your actual phone with that application or whether another device you pick up from Ace Hardware, Home Depot, etc. There are tools you can measure rooms with inside dimensions. But again, I'm going to be talking a little bit more about exterior dimensions. Builders think exterior, agents oftentimes think interior, right? So we'll talk about that in a second for those of you that are going, what the heck is this guy talking about? All right, here we go. So blueprint surveys. The blueprints before the home is built, that's what we use, right? That's how we create a structure. The draftsman, the architect works with the builder and the buyer, the whatever. If it's to be built, there's no buyer. If it's a spec, or if it's a buyer entered the equation and they're building a home together, they're all going to work together, put the blueprints together on the survey, go out for permit with the city, get a permit, dig a hole, build a house. Away you go. The builder and the city and the buyer all work together with the municipality. Oftentimes there's a lot that's purchased and a home that's of course built right after. Here's an example of a blueprint. We're not going to worry too much about this. Anybody ever worked with new construction buyers before? Okay, so for those of you that have or have not, you've looked at blueprints most likely with a builder. If not, you will when you work with that builder. If you have whatever age the home is, and it's never been on MLS, Jessica asked about, well, how do I know if it's a 05 that's never been on the market? What do I do? Ask for blueprints. Love to ask for blueprints in my listing presentation. And I might have to do what's called a two-step listing presentation. Does anybody know the difference between a one-step and a two-step? One step's in, I call, I pre-qualify, I get the information, I everything up, put the CMA together, right? Go out on the presentation, do my thing, pass the listing contract, get it signed, we're done. Hopefully that's the way it goes, right? If I go step two, it's, I don't know about the house. So then I go step one, I talk to the seller, measure, walk through the home, ask for the blueprints, go back to the office, do my data, come back for the second step, then do the full market analysis with them. And you can choose to do either or with your business.
Is it supposed to be like that every time? Like usually, like you have to measure and do two-step or?
So the question for those of you that didn't hear it is, should you do a two-step or should you measure every time? That's really up to you, Marquez. I think if given the opportunity and have enough data, love a one-step. Go in, get out, moving on, next. You know, if I just don't know the home or I need to build rapport with that seller, then I'll consider a two-step. Okay. It depends on the seller and it depends on the house. Does that make sense? So that's how I do it. Right. If it's a home I just don't have a lot of data for, I may almost more times than not do a two-step in that scenario. So we go ask for the blueprints because you can take this back and you can use this for your measurements. You don't have to go in the blistering cold in January or the heat of July and August, pull tape measures. Yet the second part to your question is, I would say you should always double check measurements on a structure. Does everyone do that? No. Yeah. Should we? Yeah. What's the one thing we like to do as listing agents to safeguard ourselves? So if we didn't measure, did something right, how do we kind of have a backdoor opening? Ever seen on the agent remarks where it says buyer's agent to measure and verify information and data? That's like a listing agent's. I love this. It's not up to me. I don't know. I just pull some data through it on MLS. It's your buyer. You tell me what the size of the home is. Don't buy into that. Yes, you should as a buyer's agent do your due diligence, measure the home. Obviously, the listing agent should absolutely be doing their due diligence up front.
So do you feel like when they say buyer to verify that they have not measured?
I would like to say no.
Yeah.
And I think the answer is possibly.
Because I never thought of that. I just thought it was like, oh, well, it's not going to be exact, but not the fact that I haven't even measured it.
Right. I think, Jessica, that's an open-ended question. I would look at the agent and their type of business. Yeah. If they run a decent business, I hope they're measuring. And if not, you literally have to do your due diligence.
Right.
But either way, if you're representing a finance buyer, you have an appraiser to back you up. Ideally, you don't find out 3 weeks after negotiations are over, right? When the appraiser shows up and completes their survey, to go, I was 1,000 square feet off. So I would, as a buyer's agent, if you're not sure, double check county data, previous MLS information, and even take a tape measure out there. Don't be afraid to do that. Ask the listing agent for a copy of the blueprints. If it's a newer home, they may have that.
Because Corey said too, that it's on the PA also, buyer to verify.
Buyer to verify as well. Thank you, Corey. So it's our business, right? It's our job to do our due diligence. We can't point the fingers out at others and say, oh, you didn't measure. It's up to us, right? Especially as a buyer's agent. Thank you, Corey. You're spot on. All right. Any other questions on that? Okay, so as a builder, I would pull exterior dimensions of this structure. Let's say for ease of purpose, let's say it's a 20 by, I don't know, 20 by 50. Well, this shell from exterior is 1,000 square feet, okay? So we have 1,000 square feet of structure, and then I add this shell, and let's just say for ease, this is another 20 feet, but by 25 feet. And I use hard math, so I'm gonna go 20 by 30. That's 600 plus 1,000. And then I add for this or subtract, depending on that's excavated or unexcavated. Chase, if you're on this, which I don't think you are, ask me a question. Has anybody ever seen unexcavated on a print before, usually under the front stoop or step? That's dirt. That's not finished space. So I would subtract this area, and that's a stairwell. And by the way, I would just incorporate that. So I'd have 1,600 minus X, call it 50 feet. We're now at 1,550 square feet. This is the foundation print, which it should be written down here. There's a main level, and if it's a 2-story, a second level print as well. Does that make sense? And then you have a landscape drawing, and you have all kinds of different things. But this is great. If you have this, it's pretty easy. Well, boy, if the county permitted this property in 2004, whatever it reads, it's probably a 1,550 square foot building. Now I just have to figure out what percentage of this, if it's exact on the second level, is finished. Usually on a 2-story, traditionally, 100%, but it could be 103%. You could have more finished structure on the second level than you do on the main level. Does anybody know how you do that? I said second level versus main level. It could be main level versus foundation, or it could be second level compared to the main. What happens is builders create what's called a cantilever. Have you ever seen where the overhang, there's an overhang of 2 feet in the level above you for more finished square feet over the shell? This is the shell, this is the foundation. Have you ever seen that before? On a cantilever, there may be more square footage on one level than another. So you have to pay attention to that on prints and when you're out measuring homes. I would say, oh, it's 1,550 on the main finish, because almost every 2-story I've ever been part of has exactly the same amount of finished square footage on the second level, on the main level. The upper level, if it's a true 2-story, may have exactly the same amount of square footage on the second level. And then the basement usually is either unfinished or a portion of finished. And then you have to take your tape measure and measure that out. That's how you figure out a rambler or a 2-story. But guess what? Not all homes are ramblers and 2-stories, right? Those are fairly easy to figure out. We have other homes that are 2-level splits, 3-level splits, 4, 5-level splits. Has anybody ever measured a 2, 3, 4-level split before? They're a bugger. They're a bugger, right? So there's a whole other level of class. We're gonna get into that in a minute. Okay, so that's blueprints. We don't all have blueprints. Most of us don't. There's a copy of a survey. You can go to various different Dakota County, Hennepin County, Rice County. I love because you have something called Beacon. Ramsey County has Beacon. Certain counties use Beacon. Rice County actually gives you the blueprint for the home. It's the only county I know of that I work in, which is down here, that'll actually provide you a layout of the home on the county's website. Dakota, Scott, Ramsey has Beacon, does not have the printout. So then you actually have to ask the seller, you got to go to the municipality and ask them, or just figure on measuring it yourself. Okay, definition of a bedroom. You know, boy, this is a couple 3-minute conversation. We'll spend a second on this. Has anybody ever had a question about what's a bedroom, a legal bedroom, or what's not when measuring for a home? In brief, there are some criteria in the International Residential Building Code that identifies legal or non-legal. And then you have to identify, does your city or municipality adopt the IRC code, which most do? And if so, do they use that information as a designation of a bedroom? So have you ever gone into a bedroom where you had to go in that 1950s 1.5 story or 2-story? You walk upstairs and you have to go through one bedroom to get to another bedroom. You ever seen that before? Jessica's nodding yes. Mark was no. So you sometimes will go through one bedroom to get into a next. Guess what? Code does not allow you to walk through one bedroom to get to another. So the back bedroom is a legal bedroom. The front bedroom is a living space. You can't market that as, let's say there's 2 legal bedrooms on the main and technically 2 upstairs. It's actually a 3-bedroom home and you have to market it that way. So you have to take caution and things like that. By the way, you're not expected to know all of this. However, one thing to do know is that they're to identify a habitable or a habitable space. Some people say you have to have a closet to have a bedroom, right? I would say no. No, I've never seen it in any building code or any municipality. There might be one out there I've heard of that mandates a closet for a building space. It just doesn't happen, folks. Your buyer might say, well, I can't use this as a bedroom, but what the Rambler that has 3 bedrooms on the main, 2 in the basement, and an office, that's a 6-bedroom home 9 times out of 10. We just don't list it as a 6-bedroom home. It is a 6-bedroom home though. I just don't want the questions from agents saying, well, it doesn't have a closet. So I list it as a 5-bedroom home with a non-conforming 6. The reality, it is a conforming 6-bedroom home. So again, it does not, in most cases, require a closet to be a bedroom. So when you go to Minneapolis and there's no bedroom, no closet yet, it has 7 feet ceilings. It's a minimum of 70 square feet. It has a source of ventilation, air coming in, air coming out. It has glazing, 8% of the floor area. It has a 5.7 square foot legal egress, a window that opens, right? Though that's the criteria for a bedroom. So just an FYI on that. You got it. Take the listing. Set it. Let us know how it goes. Okay, so just an FYI. Shoot,
Never
question.
mind. No, never mind. I saw it in the chat. The link for that bedrooms don't need closets.
Thank you. I can email that to you. It's if you go to startribune.com /bedrooms or the individual, God darn it, Ruben with XYZ Inspection Company. Corey's going to jump on in a second. He knows what I'm talking about. Ruben Salzman with something inspection company wrote an article on Minneapolis Star Tribune. Google that and you will most likely find that link. And that link will help you understand what the city of Minneapolis determines is legal and most municipalities adopt what the city of Minneapolis suggests. Does that make sense?
And then I know Megan had reached out to you about when something is not deemed a bedroom and that's based on the need for it to be rented. If you're going to rent it out, then it needs to have a bedroom. So that's kind of the, when people are like, well, it's like I've had investors come in and they're like, well, I can't rent this because this isn't a bedroom because it doesn't have a closet, right? So that's a totally separate conversation, which I think is where those agents get that idea that it's not an actual bedroom. And really that only matters when you're renting it out.
Great. So for those of you, if you heard that, Jessica said, I've had investors that have said it doesn't have a closet. It's not considered to me a bedroom. I can't rent that. So again, back to our earlier, is that correct, Jessica?
Yep.
So our earlier discussion was, remember whose eyes you're seeing it through. Are you looking through a builder's eyes? Because they don't care about anything but IRC building code. Doesn't matter. Whatever you say doesn't matter. It's code. If you're a buyer and your bedroom bed doesn't fit in there, it's not a bedroom, right? So the buyer says, well, I don't care what code says. It's a 7x10 with a legal egress. I'm not living in here. This is my walk-in closet, or whatever they want to say. That's up to them, right? So the investor might not want to purchase that property because it wouldn't be a good portfolio investment opportunity for them. So make sure you identify your person you're communicating with before making that decision. I'm talking more legality versus MLS versus reality. Does that answer that question? Anybody else have any questions on that? All right, so that's the bedroom definition of a bedroom. Tips and recommendations on MLS. We're going to jump on in a second here. Don't measure closets. Okay, so when you're looking for finished square foot, there's 2 places on MLS. There's the overall square footage we're going to talk about, and then there's the room size, right? So when you have a room size, I'm going to pull this in here. Let's just draw a simple structure here. We're going to take a look at a main floor of a Rambler. We're going to keep it real simple. It's a 20 by 40 structure. 20 feet by 40 feet. Verified, you've got a bedroom with a bifold closet. You've got your doors here, right? And that's a closet. You've got a bathroom here. Bedroom 1. Let's say we have a closet. And then bedroom 2. Here's another, that's a closet, et cetera, right? When we measure for a listing, we're going to take a look at the exterior dimensions and identify the overall finished square footage of that level, right? So they're pretty easy. 20 by 40 is 800 square feet. So this would be, in my world, 9 times out of 10, 800 square feet above grade. Then we go to the exact same, we ask ourselves, is the shell of the basement the exact same? If it is, we measure the interior dimensions because it's kind of hard. If you know the exterior dimensions while measuring a basement, and you can, in theory, take the exterior dimensions and identify the finished square footage of the basement. And let's say you come up with 600 square feet of that basement is finished, leaving 200 square feet of unfinished space, traditionally left for mechanical rooms, storage closets, etc. Well, that's a 1,400 square foot house. Okay, everyone agree so far on that? Unfortunately, not every house we measure is a 20-foot by 40-foot rambler. That's an easy one. That's perfect. Most of our homes are much different, so we have to do additional math to identify. Back to this discussion, when this bedroom is here, if that closet, for example, is more than 50% of that wall, I exclude that from my finished square footage on the interior dimensions for the bedroom, right? So bedroom 1 could be a 10 by 12. Bedroom 2 technically is 14, but I'll take off this 2 feet and I'll call that a 12 by, again, 10 or whatever that happens to be. So we have to identify the size of the closet. If it's more than 50% of this space, I eliminate that closet from my overall interior dimensions when measuring a bedroom. If it's a small closet and it's only this much space, I will now increase my measurement of that bedroom all the way to the end. Does anybody have any questions about that? So I would then add 2 feet to this space, and that would now make it I think I remember what I told you originally, but I think if that was originally 10 feet, it'd now be a 12 by 12. Maria, you're looking at me sideways. What's going on? Talk to me.
No idea.
Question?
No, I'm just,
It's a lot?
yeah.
Am I going too fast?
No.
Okay.
I think even if you went slower, I would still be looking at it like, what?
Maria's gone, boy, this is a lot of information. So I am going somewhat fast to be respectful for everyone's time. So raise your hand, ask questions as we go. Always remember, I'm here to answer questions after class if you have them. So back to the Rambler, pretty easy, 800 by X amount of square feet in the basement. I'll actually measure from the inside myself and identify how much of the basement space, best guess, because we're realtors, we're not draftsmen or draftspeople, right? We just do the best we can. If I believe 3/4 of that basement is finished, based on my measurements, it would be essentially 600 square feet. It's now a 1,400 square foot thing, Rambler. Same thing, let's say it's a 2-story. A true 2-story has usually, a lot of them have the exact same square footage on the next level, right, as they do on the main. So now it's 800 on the main, 800 on the next level, 600 on the basement. We are now at 2,200 finished square feet. If it has a cantilever, it overhangs, and how you identify that? Well, either blueprints or walking outside that structure. Look up and say, yep, it has a 2-foot overhang. We now add that extra 2 feet to this next upper level. This is now the second level of a 2-story. I just added 2 feet by 40. It's now 880 square feet instead of 800 square feet on that second level. Has anybody ever heard of a modified 2-story?
Yep.
I'm not gonna name names, but the big red realtor brokerage out there, I realized, thought a 3-level split was a modified 2-story. Forever I looked at these and I went, why does big red realty company think that these are all modified? Because every listing agent did that. Now I don't know if it was just me, if it was actually that brokerage. They weren't modified 2-stories, they were splits. But guess what? Modifieds are worth more than a split. So maybe that's why they're listing them as a modified. A modified, and correct, I may be mistaken, essentially is the main level, the second level is not the exact same size as the main level. It may be a portion of that upper second level is finished and or just not completed, right? So maybe only this much of that level is finished on that modified 2-story. This much is not finished. So now we have X amount of percent of that second level. Let's say it's 800 on the main. It might only be 600 on the second level, 800 on the first, and back to 600 the basement. Now we're at 2,000 square foot instead of the previous example, which was 2,200 square feet. How are we doing, Jessica? Am I going too fast, too slow?
Okay.
People are understanding
I'm
this?
just thinking of actual houses that I've been in. I'm trying to picture them.
when you go up the stairwell and you see there's 3 bedrooms, but there's a bunch of vault in the area that the
Okay.
roof line drops.
Yeah.
Well, that's a modified.
Okay,
They used to build them a lot in the 80s and 90s. I don't see them as much today.
sure.
And those modified 2-stories are buggers, but they're more valuable because the 2-story, it's more expensive to build sideways than it is up. The 2 most expensive things when building a home are moving dirt and hiring dad. One Skluzacek Construction, the concrete guy, Corey's dad. Those guys are expensive. They charge a lot. So you don't want concrete guys and you don't want dirt moving people, right? You want X. X means, you know, the wood builders. Going up is cheaper. So a 2-story is less expensive than a Rambler. So I think certain people would actually indicate a 3-level split as a modified because it would appraise more, because guess what the split levels have less of? Less dirt moving and less foundation. For those of you that are familiar with a split level, you walk in on a bi-level split, you walk into a 10 by 10 pad and you either go up or down, right?
Yeah.
And so now, similar situation on that bi-level split, let's look at a profile view. A profile view of this print, I'm just gonna draw this, is you've got this level finish, you've got stairs going down, you've got this level finish, you have a little bit of crawl space here, right? But this is the shell overall. This is the full shell, but you walk in, you've got vaulting here usually, or a lower ceiling, and there's nothing up there if the roof line drops. Usually that's what you're looking at, and then you have this square footage, you have this square footage, and you have this square footage, right? So what do? Well, I measure that whole basement area, and then I identify, you know, I essentially bring this level up, and I measure that whole thing, and I consider that all finished square footage. Because it is, it's this plus the stairwell plus this. And if I'm losing you on this point, it's okay. This is 101 stuff. We're not going to get it in 201 or 301. Just imagine a bi-level split. You move that floor plan up, you're going to measure that whole thing. The above grade square footage is X. And then you go to the basement, and Y, the basement is X minus, we'll call this Y. That's X minus Y equals Z. That's your square footage here. So personally, I say above grade, which this is above grade. It's usually your block or port wall foundation is here. Again, we're getting a 201 or 301 stuff, but that's all above grade finish. So I just consider all that one, and then whatever percentage of the basement as another. And again, it's hard for me when you're zooming. I'm not sure if you have questions. So if you do, chime in if anybody has questions as we go. That's a bi-level split. Guess what? There are 3-level and 4-level splits. Long story short is this bi-level, a 3 or a 4, for the most part, has less foundation. Okay, there's a slab here. There's 2 4-foot walls, and they move less dirt, and they move less, pour less concrete, meaning that split level is less expensive than a Rambler or 2-story. Because Ramblers and 2-stories all mostly in this state have full basements, right? They have walls that go down a full 9 feet, all the way down. You have more concrete, more dirt moving. That makes that home more expensive. And it translates to more value when you sell it later, years later. I got way off on a tangent, but I just want to make sure everyone understands from a builder's perspective and an appraiser's perspective, why is it that Ramblers are the most expensive, then a modified or 2-story, then a 2, 3, or 4-level split. That's how you see, if you compare a 2-story to a split, it's the exact same home in the exact same neighborhood, same lot. That 2-story will always be appraised more and be worth more for that reason. Anybody have any questions on that? All right, we got into 201, 301. We're going to come back to center here. There's a couple more YouTube clips. This is usually where I jump in and we start talking a little bit about measuring and how we do that. I think to be respectful for time, I'm going to keep it primarily to MLS data. Jessica, if you would agree, we're going to jump on MLS here.
We can always give them the link, right?
And we can give them the link. Thank you. That's exactly what we're going to do. And so please, we're going to email you all a link. If you would send Jessica an email, or she'll have itinerary of who's all here. We're going to email you the links. Your assignment is to spend 12 minutes, we'll time block out 12 minutes. Look at this link tonight, and it'll help you understand, well, Chad, how do I literally take a tape measure around a structure and measure that? It's a 1.5 story in Minneapolis. And you all notice on a 1.5, remember this is a cross-section view I'm now going to look at. A cross-section view here as well. A 1.5 story has a basement, it has an area here, and then the pitch drops. If you're familiar with a 1.5 story, this space here might only be 5 feet high. So if you're walking here and you're a 6 foot tall person, you're gonna walk and your head's gonna hit the wall eventually, right? If you take a look at this is a call it an early 1900, call it 1950s version of a 2-story. We call it a 1.5 story. So for those of you watching or listening and you say, well, I've seen 1.5 and I've seen 2, what's the difference? They're the same home. What happened is in 1980, builders said, well, let's just take this, let's push it up. Still has a roof line, but instead the ceiling's flat on that second level. I walk up and it's a flat ceiling. There's no gable that drops down. All they did is they took this house and they lifted it up a little higher. And so now it's very easy to measure square footage on this house because the ceilings are all, remember at that earlier slide, at least 7 feet clearance or higher. They all meet building code. Whereas this one, you actually have to measure, if this was 4 feet, you'd have to measure where it hits 5 feet and 5 feet. And then you would measure here, and that's your finished square footage. You can't consider this finished because it's below 5 feet of space. And a lot of you at this point are going, what? So watch the 12-minute link, and it'll help you understand how do you measure a 1.5 story differently from a 2-story. How are we doing?
Good.
Good. I like it. You guys don't ask questions. Best class ever. Tools, obviously measuring, again, that link will explain it, but make sure you bring with you your laser or measuring tool, your application on your phone, clipboard, flashlight, graph paper for those that really like to get into it. Again, the link we're going to email you is going to help you with that. As a contractor, I would have 4 pens in my pocket in January because by the time one freezes, I put it back in my pocket to warm it up and 2 more are warm and you play the game. A camera, a cell phone, and weatherproof notepad if you're measuring in the rain or the snow. We talked about interior versus exterior dimensions. No decimal points. And now you do have decimal points. This was drafted in 15, 16, I wrote this. So there are decimal points on certain points of MLS. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna shift gears. I'm gonna exit out of this and I'm gonna screw it up. So.
And garages, that was on there. You're
Garages.
back to that?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm trying to get to MLS here.
Yeah, my question was, it was like when I was talking to Meg.
Yes.
Because my listing went live, of course, after that date.
Okay.
And so I'm like, is there like a standard 1-car garage that we can just put in there? Because I can't get over there to measure it to make this live.
Yes.
So that was one of my questions. Not that I'm not going to measure it. It's just
how do we do it?
MLS demands that you have something in there. So like spitball.
How do we do it?
I think 12 by 10, that sounds good. I don't know.
Well, this is a reality question. So Jessica asked, hey, I've got a new listing and I don't know what the garage measurements are. I really want to get it coming soon or active if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And I have to put in certain measurements or a Meg or the front desk is not going to allow me to put this on MLS.
Right.
What do we do in that situation? Well, what would Greg Hartoast tell you to do?
Go out and measure it.
Go out and measure it. Get in your vehicle, go out and measure it. Greg, if you're listening, tune off for 20 seconds. Reality is, best guess, go measure it that evening. Email or call the front desk. I screwed up because you did. And tell them it's a 7-foot high by 16-foot wide door and it's a 20 by 22 interior dimension garage space or whatever, right? Get it on. I understand you have to sell homes. And a lot of times they sell before you get a chance to measure it. So do what you think is in your best interest. Just be prepared. Who's going to be calling you on that marketable property that has 8 showings and everyone's measuring it for the 19-foot 2-inch pickup truck that I have on a 20-foot wide interior dimension shell. Well, that Lonsdale property that everyone has a pickup truck for, I'm being facetious, but a lot of people drive pickup trucks in Lonsdale and they want a 22-foot deep garage. They do.
Right.
And if you list it as a 20, you just lost half your buyer pool and they're never looking at your listing again.
So the garage is included in the total square footage?
It is not. Good question. The question was, is garage square footage included in total finish? The answer is no, unless they have carpet, floor trim, and things that make it finished, which I have an epoxy floor coating and trim in my garage. and heated floors, and I wouldn't list my garage as heated, even though it's pretty dang nice. And I've slept there before, off the record.
Chad, why are you sleeping in the garage?
Take a wild guess. That was too much real estate that day.
The doors are locked.
So there we go. We're going to take a look at a listing. Yeah, they were that night. So make sure you don't list homes at 9 o'clock at night, people. Go home to your families. All right, so here we go. Let's pull up the 309 Dogwood. I have a Dogwood under contract here, but that's okay. Let's just take a look at 309 Dogwood. That looks like a neat home. It's a 2020 and it's a what? To be built. What does that mean?
It's not built yet.
It's not. What's most likely here, Jessica?
Dirt.
Dirt. You're looking at dirt and a rendition of a home that might occur. Could, maybe won't. What's the difference between a rendition that has dirt there versus one that's actually sticks and some concrete on the site?
Well, it probably has a blueprint.
Blueprint, and it's probably under construction.
Sure.
So that one has either a builder that's taken a risk and putting a speculative on the market. I hope somebody buys it. Back in the day, we used to build a bunch of these specs and we'd have a couple models out there because it's all gonna sell, right? Until 06 hit and then the market crashed. Now builders are gun shy. They'll only put 1 or 2 specs out there if they're a smaller builder at most. One that's actually being built or is built. Otherwise, they'll put a ton of these out here because that's real cheap, right? You own land or you have the ability to buy land and you put a fictitious home on it. That's called a to be built. So that's a bad example. We're going to switch. But that one's actually got an offer on it. So it's a piece of dirt that's probably in the works between the builder, whoever that builder happens to be. I'm not going to spend time. Loomis and a buyer and an agent are working together on that one. And they're going to put a house up there pretty shortly. Let's go to the next property. Another to be built. A lot of these in Lonsdale. There we go. We got a real live property here. We got a live one, folks. Okay, so split level, bi-level, and we've got a foundation size of 1420, an above ground square footage, a below ground square footage finished, total finished. I mean, is anybody else's head hurting right now? There's a lot of stuff going on. This is, you know, it's always been a lot and we're adding more and more every year. So what we're looking at is the foundation size, right? So earlier we were talking about foundations, correct?
Yeah.
Remember that blueprint with the foundation? Maria's yawning. This is a good class. She loves this. I'm teasing. I'd be doing the same thing if I were in your seat. So we're going to measure the foundation, and then we're going to identify, is it all, okay, so that's the foundation, 800, 20 by 40, for simplicity's sake. Above ground square footage finished on that Rambler, it's also 9 times out of 10, the same thing, right? Unless it has a cantilever, and by the way, Ramblers have cantilevers too, where the main level is bigger than the shell. The foundation is weird, but they do build them, so be careful when you're measuring. That's why it's important to measure the foundation and measure the upstairs if you're not sure.
Or maybe like this one could have like a sunroom that's popped off the back or something.
Good.
Right?
Yeah, guess what? This was probably an entry. I have an aunt and uncle that we just sold a home in Farmington, and they had a 2-stall garage. And then what they did was they took the 2-stall garage, moved it over, and turned this into a sunroom.
Oh, yeah.
And now I listed it as a 3-level split, but when it was built in 1978, it was a bi-level split. So what Jessica said is, well, what happens if it has a sunroom off the back? Right. So that bi-level split, you can tell when you drive by a home if it's a split, if you can see the door here and it's flush with the bottom of these windows, right? Because the windows have to be 42 inches above grade. If you just see a door, window, envision that there's stairs going up and down. That's easy to tell. So you can tell, and again, that's the same if it's a 2, 3, or, well, it's not always the same. If you have a 3-level split, you might have some windows that are a little higher here. As you walk in, you've got the dining room, the kitchen, and you walk up to bedrooms and walk down to bedrooms and bathrooms, right? Or living spaces, whatever. Again, this is 2 and 301 stuff here, but let's get back to 101. So Jessica said, hey, if it's a 20 by 40, and that happens to be a bi-level split, if there's a sunroom on the back built on stilts or concrete piers in the earth, or even a concrete foundation, but there's unexcavated, like that print we looked at earlier, and that's no finish underneath, well, that's still finished square footage. So now your finished square footage above grade will be larger than the actual shell. Everyone follow me so far?
Yeah, so like this one's 1420 foundation.
Yep.
Below grade is 1420, and then above is 16.
Great. So what happened here?
So that's where I'm
They
thinking.
probably have a room built on the back.
Boom,
Yeah.
exactly. A room on the back.
Yeah.
Or the front. Yep, cantilever. Possibly. That's a pretty big cantilever. That's not the case, I'm sure, but exactly whoever chimed in. Look at one other thing. Guess what? Below grade foundation is the same as above grade. Excuse me. The below grade is the exact same as the foundation. Has anybody ever seen a basement where 100% of that basement's finished?
100%?
Marquez says no. I haven't ever. There's no such thing as a basement that's 100% finished, at least realistically speaking.
Right.
Because what do you have to have in a basement?
Your furnace.
Boiler, furnace,
It might be.
Drain.
drain.
But,
Yeah, how many people see drains with carpeting surrounding?
right.
I haven't, maybe. And by the way, you can epoxy finish that basement like my
Sure.
garage, and then put floor trim around that and drywall, and guess what? That's a legally finished space now, because you have trim, you have a painted surface and epoxy coating. And the listing agent that does that, I'm gonna slap them when I show up to measure, because I'm gonna say, dude, or do that, that's not happening. I'm not paying that much for that home because you overpriced it, right? So just be prepared when you're measuring. That's, as buyer's agents, what we have to do here. There's no way that's accurate. That's inaccurate. I'm not going to show you the listing agent is to be respectful for that individual, and they're wrong. Hopefully it's nobody in this room.
I was gonna say, hopefully it's no one here.
I'm not going to do it. I don't want to know. It could bite.
We can all write down the number and look
Yes.
at it up ourselves.
Don't look at it. So just be cautious. And I'm sure they're a great agent. They didn't take a tape measure to it.
Right.
Or they didn't double check whoever added it into the office, whoever did that. So 1420 plus 16 says above and below equals 3020. That's also inaccurate on a 0.45 lot. Okay. So we have other questions. So first of all, any questions with this? We only looked at a bi-level and a rambler. We talked about 2 stories, but there's 3 story, there's 3 levels, there's 4 levels, there's modified 2 stories, you name it. There's a million other floor plans I'm not thinking. Any questions so far on the overall measurement without going into the link on North Star? We're doing okay, everyone?
Yep.
Sarah, you get nervous for your listing appointment yet?
No, it's a good friend of mine. I do have a question. So the foundation size and the below ground square footage are the same on this listing. But if you add 1420 and 1600, that does equal 3020.
So that's correct.
So that's correct. But the foundation, you're just measuring like the box of cement that they poured in the ground, right?
Bingo.
I need to get back to your picture here. Hold on. Okay. Point that again. Okay.
Yes, so the box of concrete minus the step plus the extra room in the back, add that together, that's your below grade overall foundation size. Does that answer your question, Sarah?
Yeah.
Now, when you take the above grade, because they have another room in the back or a cantilever or X, that's why they made the upper level is bigger than the foundation. Follow me on that?
Okay. Yeah.
Though, again, 201, 301 classes, that room in the back that they're adding to this does have a foundation underneath it. It has to meet code. It is unexcavated. It is full of dirt or air.
Yeah.
So
So it doesn't qualify for the actual foundation size.
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. So the overall foundation size is still 1420. It's bigger on the upper level, and then the lower level, that's the mistake. It's not 1420 finished. It's no way the foundation and the finished is the same. Doesn't happen.
Okay.
That's somebody that
Because it's just not right. People
it's
just
just
don't
not
do it.
right. So when the appraiser comes out 3 weeks later, when it goes under contract, they're going to say you're wrong. It's 2,800 square foot, and that listing agent's going to have to go shoot. You know, and I have to now justify to my seller why I sold the 2,800 square foot, marketing it's 3020. Got a full price offer because I comped it correctly, but now it's not really a 3020. It's a 2,800.
Okay.
Follow me on that?
Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely. Now remember, 201, 301, that basement finished square footage is not as valuable as the above grade stuff, right? So when a builder builds you a home and you're going to build a 2-story rambler, they're going to say it's 150 a square foot on the main and the upper level, and then it's $50 a square foot for the basement. So really, you're not going to be $10,000, $20,000 off, but or more. You might be $5,000 off. But again, don't worry too much on that. Just remember that our due diligence is to notate what's accurate and what's not. Any questions on that? Awesome. All right, garage, where's the garage? Here we go. So now we have room measurements, right? We got to measure the interior dimensions. This whole time I'm telling you, measure exterior. Now is where we go inside and we take a tape measure interior. Because what does this all mean right here? Where do I put my bed? Will my couch fit? How big is a TV can I put in this bedroom? This is just realtor stuff. This is me knocking realtors, by the way. I'm gonna put my builder hat on. That's just realtor stuff. That doesn't mean anything. The realtor, that means everything, right? Because that's where our buyers put their beds and couches, right? This is realtor stuff. And so, great. If you're off on this, don't lose any sleep. If you're off on this, you may have problems. So put extra time into this and do this and then go back and remeasure later. Greg won't get mad at you here. He'll get ticked at you here, or your seller will, or your buyer. Okay, so then we have overall finished, below grade, above grade total. And we have a garage. Where's the garage? Help me out here. Down, 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 down.
Right.
Thank you. Okay, garage square footage. So Jessica said, hey, a listing appointment. I got the listing. You gotta get on. I gotta get sold. Go, go, go. I forgot to measure the garage. Well, it's not finished square footage, and most agents and buyers won't discredit this if you put in a ballpark measurement. Or if you're in Rice County, you go to Rice County's website and it'll tell you right there what the size of the garage is. It's a 30 by 22. Whew. I know what the square footage is. I write it in there, 16 by 7 door, and I've got a 8 by 7 here, and I'll go measure it tonight, update MLS tomorrow. I'll probably be okay. Follow me on that? Yeah, we do need to determine square footage. So all it says on here is not the size. There's a location for garage door height, width, garage dimensions. That's missed on this one, right? So that's Jessica's listing. Sorry, Jessica. I was knocking you the whole time. But we need to identify the size of the garage space, overall finished square footage, and then fill in the blanks. So that office let that agent put it on the market. I don't think ours will, right?
Yeah, they'll, actually what happens is it won't even let it put it on live on the MLS. So Megan said, I mean, maybe this one was listed before August 4th.
Possibly. 33 days on one. Yeah, well, doesn't matter.
So if it was before August 4th, we don't need to go back and measure anything?
I just saw something.
Because I'm confused. I saw something too, but then I was under the understanding that I didn't have to.
So the question is if I measured a home prior to the August 4th date, if that's the real date when this MLS ruling changed, do I have to go back and adjust? Until Megan slaps your wrist, I'd say no.
Right.
Be prepared for a nasty gram email to come your way. It's a month and a half, Maria, where you at, measure that garage. And until that happens, I wouldn't worry.
Yeah.
The house doesn't have a garage, so I'm good. But the inside.
And that's okay. I don't think they will because I have a listing that's older than that, and I'm just thinking to myself.
I mean, that's a lot of work on MLS's part to.
Yes, to go back. So you may be grandfathered in until somebody with the office notifies you that better make a drive out there. Any other questions on that? This person was able to list it. Our office will expect us to do our due diligence. Remember, if you don't know, any home built prior to 1980 is going to have 7 foot high, 16 foot wide, 7 foot high, 8 foot wide. And you can look at this garage and go, it's a 20 by 22, whatever, 440 plus another 12 by 20 or whatever, and just guess without driving out. Then drive out, then measure, then adjust. I mean, I'm not trying to say I'm a proponent of guessing and putting information on MLS. I would actually prefer to be this person, not put it on and then put it on the market and then adjust later. Yet if our office makes you, you'll have to make what's the best decision for you to decide how you're going to do that. Just be prepared. You're going to get emails and calls from agents and you're going to have to answer. I'm sorry, it was 22 feet deep, not 20 feet deep. You can fit your buyer's pickup truck or long station wagon or whatever in that garage.
So I have a question.
Question. Yes, Maria.
This happened to me a
Mhm.
week ago. So my buyer went into the property ID, tax ID,
Yes.
or just in the county or whatever, and all the square footage was different.
Okay.
So this buyer goes to any house and he takes the total square footage divided by the price of the house and he tells me if it's too expensive or not. That's how he's figuring things out.
Okay.
So we read up an offer and he asked me to put something on it where it said that if they measure the house and it's different, then they will get money back.
In the offer.
Right, and he figured out the square footage.
Got it.
Correct.
So the question.
If I were to go into the property
Yes.
ID just to look at numbers,
Yep.
do I trust it? What is the difference?
So the question was, if my buyer goes to tax records on the county's website and it verifies it's different from MLS, they may not have the confidence to know what the offer price is, and they may write into the offer, well, if the actual measurements are different, I may adjust my price. I may go and do my due diligence before placing the offer, especially if I think I'm gonna get into multiple offers, because I believe most listing agents are gonna go, oh no, I got to do more work and I don't like doing work, so I'm not going to take your offer. Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, choose this offer. They're better. You know, that's possibly what could happen. So keep your offer clean. If it's an investment property or your loan, not a bad idea. Especially if you're out of state or it's a long distance to get your buyer to go to that house. I would personally call the agent, call the county, talk to the municipality, find out the specifics, do your due diligence, hand that information to the buyer and say, we got to take the information we have, make an offer based upon the information we have. Remember, you've got the contingency on inspection. If we find out data is different by the end of our 7 days or 10 days contingency, we may have yet an opportunity to renegotiate. I don't like doing that, but it is a way to buy a little extra time if you have to get your offer in. I would prefer you do your due diligence up front, make the offer based upon that information, and then adjust if you need to later versus writing it into the offer. That could get a little scary. It's an option, and it's good that you're writing it. It could get a little scary. Never let your buyers make the determination of square footage size unless they're an engineer, draftsman, and then you're screwed because they're going to know more than we are, right? That help answer a little bit, Maria?
Yeah.
Good luck with that one.
Yeah, it was looking.
And they're doing their, you can't blame them. I would want to do the same thing as a buyer. I just think that maybe see if the listing agent won't help you on that. Any other questions? We are at the end of our 1 hour. I'm just going to make sure, Jessica, what did we not discuss that I really should have discussed on measurements?
Let's see. I think one of the questions was from Sue. I want to learn how to accurately measure a room when it's an open concept floor plan.
Got it. Would you repeat the question, please?
Yep. I want to learn how to accurately measure a room when it's an open concept floor plan.
Got it. Measure a room when it's an open concept. Got it. So when Megan says measure the room, does she mean finished square footage or structure?
Probably like when you walk into the kitchen, and it's kitchen, dining room, living room, giant room.
Yep.
How do you measure that?
Got it. Okay. So for those of you that can stay beyond 2 and want to listen, the question was, I walk into an open concept plan, 2020, brand new open print. What does every builder like to do on a Rambler? Wide open, right? Huge vaults. Where's the dining room start and stop? I don't know. Yeah. Right. So what do I do? Well, hopefully it's a transition between flooring from one room to another. I love that. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you. Sorry, I have another meeting.
Do not apologize. I'm running late.
Thanks for the info.
Absolutely. Email if you have questions.
I know.
Or not. You know where to find it.
Thank you.
Sarah says, when did people stop believing in walls?
When? The walls are coming back, by the way, but for now, they're not.
For real. I want to be able to stand in my kitchen, drink my wine, and complain about my children without them hearing me.
You need to market to 1980s and older buyers. Okay. Yeah, the partitioning of walls is a style, and then it goes away, and then it comes back. And so yeah, today it's wide open. I have a bowling alley because I have an 04, right? I have a kitchen, and then I have a dining room, and then I have a living room. The way I measure my living room is carpet to hardwood, but dining room to kitchen is hardwood to hardwood. You can't really segregate that. So I gut shot, I literally guess, what is the end of the breakfast countertop? Add another foot or 2, that's the kitchen. And then from where I think the chairs and the dining room table would no longer abut to, from that point to the end where the hardwood hits the carpet is the end of my dining room. And then from carpet to wall is living. Was it Megan's question or Sarah's question?
Sue.
Sue, did that answer kind of your question? If you're still here.
Yes.
She says yes.
One other question is, my listing has 0 below grade square footage.
Okay.
Or square feet.
Yep.
It is a 2-level split.
Okay.
Is the top level only considered the main floor?
Got it. So the question is, it's a 2-level or bi-level split, and there's no finished square footage in the basement?
Correct. It has 0 below grade.
finished or unfinished.
Yeah,
That's,
just so it must be slab.
it must be, so if it's 0 below grade finished, it really couldn't be a bi-level split because a slab on grade, and I'm thinking outside the box here, but the reality is slab on grade is almost always a rambler or 2-story, right? You walk in on a townhome, you've got a main level finished area and you go up. That's a slab on grade. So is the house, that rambler. It's I want a handicap accessible home and I have hip issues. I don't want any basement and I don't want any upstairs. I just want one level living. That's a slab on grade.
Yeah.
But the one where you walk up or down has to have below grade unfinished square footage. It may not have to have finished.
So maybe, Megan, can you get on?
Yeah, I was just, I was gonna hop in. So it's that townhome just that's near me,
Yeah.
the one on Morgan Avenue South. And I'm pretty sure, let me just bring up, but I was looking at the tax site too. I thought it said 0 for below grade. Oh, I'd have to look at it again just
So
a
that
moment.
means it doesn't have a basement at all?
Well, it has, I mean, it's the basement, but it's like not, it's a walkout. So it's not.
a walkout. So
That makes sense.
a walkout could be from the main level. Are you looking at the listing only? Or is it one that you put an offer on and have been to?
This is my listing that's going to be
Thank you.
Friday.
Okay, so it has a walkout. Is that walkout in the basement where you walk out of a patio door in the basement or the main level?
It's a walkout of the basement and you walk
Okay.
out to the patio. So
Good.
I'm looking at this tax site now and it's
The
foundation.
tax site says 0 in the basement for finished square footage.
Yeah, let's see. Okay, so it says finished square feet is 1,508.
Yep.
Foundation square feet, 1,118. Above grade is 1,118. So maybe I was wrong with the 0. Now I'm really confused. I don't know.
That's okay. Remember, county documents are from the point they last permitted or looked at the property. And that oftentimes changes without the county knowing. Have you ever seen a seller that hired their brother-in-law or sister-in-law or whomever to finish the basement, never pulled permits? That's an example where the county's information and the actual information are not congruent. And I see that all the time. So if you ever see 0 finished square footage on that, what I think you said is a bi-level split, that's okay. That doesn't mean it's not unfinished. You call the seller and the seller says, yeah, or you physically look at the home and yeah, there's finished square footage. The county just didn't know about it. Are we on the same track here, Megan?
So, well, it's a townhome. I don't think anything's changed since it was built.
Okay.
But I think I was incorrect when I said it has 0 below grade. I don't know. I don't know where I got that from. Maybe a previous class, but so if the total finished square feet is 1,508 and above grade, so it is 1,118. I guess it does have some
Finished square footage below.
grade. Yeah.
Yeah, 300-400 feet, it sounds like.
Right. So is that's just referring to the basement or the lower level?
I'm a visual person, so I need to see what you're saying to give you the best answer to that question. I think if I understand you correctly, if there's 1,100 foundation and 1,100 up finished, and there's 15 overall, what I'm visually, if I'm following you so far so good,
Yes.
then there's 300 to 400 finished in the basement, a bedroom and a bathroom, maybe a living space.
Yes. There's living space, bed, bath, and laundry room.
Perfect. That's your 300 to 400 in the basement. You're 11 on the main. You have a 1,500 square foot by level split town. Are we on the same page?
Yep. Sorry, it was cutting out just a bit. But so would the 1,118 be considered the main floor?
Should be.
Okay. Finished square. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's a bi-level split, remember now you've got a little confusion there because what the county suggests and what you suggest may differ. X plus Y is technically all the above grade finished square footage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Rarely is this home ever unfinished anywhere here, right? That's almost always finished.
Mm-hmm.
So that plus that is whatever the shell is. You have to go back to this. But if you have it, or dimension you pull in your measurements, and is this the same as this? It should be. So when you look at this, if it says foundation is whatever, let's use 1420, your above grade finished square footage should also be 1420 on that bi-level split townhome.
Right.
This one isn't because they have an extra space or cantilever.
Okay. So even though like the basement walks out to like ground level, that's considered, that's below grade.
So if is your question, you walk down the stairs and then you go down to the living space below, and you cannot, you have a patio door and you walk out the patio door? Is that your question?
Right.
Yes, and then repeat the question of that question or that comment?
So that level is considered below grade.
It should be, because remember, on this split level, this is dirt is usually up to here. See, this is all below grade, this is all above grade. So this, all this right here, this square footage, this concrete floor that's way down here is all below grade square footage on that split level.
Okay.
Yes, this is below, this is above, below.
Okay, cool.
The percentage of this is finished and unfinished, you have to determine.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yep, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you so much.
All right, we've got a couple people left here. Jessica just left. I'm running late, casually in true form. Any other questions from anybody that wants to chime in on Chad? You forgot to hit this, and this is really something I want to know right now.
You hit all of it for me so far.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, Jessica and I will be sending out an email with that link. Take a look at the link. Good luck on your listening presentation, Sarah.
Thank you.
Awesome. And then thank you. Yeah, a lot of information. Again, 101 surface level stuff. When we get deeper into 201, 301, call me, email me. We'll talk a little bit more to identify exactly how do we do this. The next class is possibly going to be going on-site measuring. So if you guys, yes, so like, perfect. We're gonna advertise to everybody, and if anybody wants to go on site and physically measure a home, we're gonna find a local listing and go do that.
Sweet.
That's cool. I'll go.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks, Chad.
Thank you.
Good.
You know how to end it?
What's that?
You know how to end it?
I'll
go
probably
in it.
not. Right here?
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Breakout. I can't read that. What is it?
Let me see. Probably have to click on the. Oops.
I'll let you
Let me
take
see.
over. This is bad.
Man.
I see. Stop share.
Stop sharing.
Yes. Looks like you go, and then screen share. Stop recording. Do the math.